The Public Affairs Department of WALA Fox 10 presents your Social Security Report.
Thank you, sir. I can always depend on your being there. Good morning, everyone. May I come in for a little visit? Thank you. Thank you very much. The other day, I was reading a little news item that I thought I ought to share with you because it could apply to many folks who really don't give it much thought. It's about the importance of the Social Security account number agreeing with the last name. You know, so often, and it applies mostly to the ladies too, by the way, so often when they marry, they will change the name and everything else, but forget to change the name on the Social Security card. And then when the earnings go in, under the married name, but with the Social Security number that was applied to the maiden name. Well, when that reaches the Internal Revenue Service, they're totally at a loss. They don't know whose it is because the number and the name don't agree. And also it happens in a divorce. A lady might have been divorced and she failed to change the name, and so the card is in one name, and her name under which she's working is something else. So please be sure that your Social Security number is your current name. And it's very easy to do that. To change the name on the Social Security number, on the card rather, you never change the number, but to change the name, all you have to do is fill out an application with the Social Security office and bring them some identification to show that it's you and not someone else who's trying to get your Social Security number, because there's so much fraud that takes place throughout the country. But be sure to do it just as soon as there is any change at all in your name. Because if earnings go in, or if an income tax return goes in with the name that was under the maiden name, and earnings have gone in under the married name, then it's going to confuse the Internal Revenue to the point where they say, we can't do anything with this. So, may I say, verbum sapienti, as the Romans used to say, a word to the wise is sufficient. But now let's look at some of those questions that are always arising. And this is one that has to come up for a good little while. And as far as I know, they're handling it the same way they did when I was still with Social Security. This good lady says, I'm reaching age 65 next month. My husband is almost 2 years younger than I am. And he says, I'm not ready to retire yet, don't intend to. But they tell me that since I don't have sufficient Social Security work credits to be able to qualify for Medicare on my own, I have to qualify on my husband's record. So what are we supposed to do? Well, the way we normally handled it was that the husband would file a claim as though he were going to retire, but did not. And then he would bring her in on that claim, and then she would be able to be covered by Social Security's Medicare. I mean, it was Social Security's Medicare then. It's not Social Security's Medicare any longer. It's an entirely different agency. But the only way that she could come under it then, unless she wanted to buy it outright, which would be pretty expensive for the hospital part, would be for him to file a claim as though he were planning to retire, but actually was not retiring, and then he would bring her in as the wife on his retirement account. And this one will come up occasionally. This good gentleman said, when I reached age 65, I didn't want to fool with that Medicare. I was perfect health, never had been sick a day of my life. But you know, now that I'm 68, in these last 3 years, it's been an entirely different story. And I can see that I'm going to need some assistance. Am I too late to enroll for Medicare? Well, temporarily, he is too late. But you know, the open season is coming up very shortly. It's January through March of each new year. But let's go into that a little more fully because the clock on the wall says you're going to have to get out for a few moments. So if you'll excuse me, I'll be right back.
If you have questions or need assistance from the Social Security Office and are a resident of the Mobile area, please write to the Social Security Administration, Mobile District Office, 9 St. Emmanuel Street, Mobile, Alabama, 36606, or call 334-441-6165. If you have questions or need assistance from the Social Security Office and are a resident of Jackson, Alabama, please write to the Social Security Administration, 150 College Avenue, Jackson, Alabama, 36545, or call 334-246-6018.
I'm right back. And when the clock very unceremoniously booted me out a little while ago, we were talking about the gentleman who said he didn't want this Medicare at 65, but now that he's reached 68, there's been a turn in his health, and he does want the coverage. I wanted to know, is he too late? And temporarily, he is too late, but that open season, you know, comes up in January, February, March. So if you put off enrolling for Medicare when you reach the age of 65 and you let as much as 3 more months go by after that month of your 65th birthday, be sure to enroll in that open season of January, February, March. Now, there is going to be a little penalty that you're going to have to pay because of your lateness. For each year that you waited beyond the time that you could have enrolled, there is a 10% penalty added to the premium. So 10% more of the premium is added on. For example, this coming year, the premium is going to be $50 a month, so $5 a month more would be added on for each year that you waited beyond the time that you could have enrolled for the Medicare. And your coverage for the doctor bill part is not going to begin until the following July. But the hospital part begins right away. As soon as you're 65 and you have been working under Social Security, you are covered for the hospital part. And this good gentleman said, my mother put in a claim for the disability benefits just about 3 years ago. And they said she wasn't disabled enough, so she couldn't draw the Social Security. But I know that she's gotten worse over these last 3 years. Now, would it do any good at all to put in another claim for the disability benefits? The answer is very definitely yes, it would. If she's gotten worse, by all means, I would go to the Social Security office and put in a claim. The fact that he put in a claim before is not going to mean anything to be against him. And as a matter of fact, they have a pretty good file already on her. And he could bring in anything else that's happened in those last 3 years since she was denied the claim and file a brand new claim and start it all over. Because remember, you can always file a claim. I used to tell my people, you know, the legal definition of the word claim is the statement of a right which a person thinks he has. So anybody can make that statement that I think that I have this right to do thus and so on, which is a claim. Of course, if you don't meet the requirements of a law, you're going to be denied. But you may file that claim at any time. So I say by all means get back in touch with the Social Security office and file that claim. And this good lady said, I'm not going to be able to be driving any longer, so I've sold my car and I have an empty garage. Well, a neighbor wants to rent the garage. And someone told me, well, now, since you're drawing Social Security and you'd have that extra money coming in, don't you know that that may have something to do with your Social Security? And she wanted to know, would it? The answer is no. That's not earnings. It has to be earnings over the earnings ceiling for that year, which this year is $10,680 if you're under the age of 65. And of course, you know, at the age of 65, there is no earnings ceiling. Work as much as you want to and still draw all of your Social Security benefits. So anything that she gets in rent from that garage is making no difference whatsoever. But now, if she were filing for SSI or drawing the SSI, that Supplemental Security Income, which is the federal welfare program, then yes, some income such as that could make a difference. I don't say that it would. It may not be enough, but it could. But Social Security says it's not the least bit interested in that rent money, and she can get as much as she possibly can for the rent for the garage. And this good lady had this question. She said, when I start drawing my Social Security benefit, and they give me the amount that I'm going to be drawing, is that amount ever going to change during my lifetime? Or does it remain the same from now on, just etched in stone? No, it's not etched in stone. It is going to change with all of those cost of living adjustments. But that's the only kind of change there is going to be, because it's based on earnings, and unless she goes back to work and has more earnings coming in for recomputation of the benefit amount, there is no way that the benefit rate can be changed. But every cost of living adjustment every year will change the benefit, but that's the only way that the benefit rate is going to be changed. And let's see, oh yes, this good gentleman was saying, I'm drawing the disability benefits now, and I've just come under the Medicare. Now, I'm only 50. When I reach the age of 65, which would be the normal age for the Medicare to kick in, is there anything more that's added to my Medicare, or does it remain the same that I'm drawing now? Well, the coverage remains the same. There's no amount of no amount of income coming in. It's only if he has to use the Medicare. But the Medicare coverage remains the same when he's 50 now, when he's 60, when he's 65, all the rest of his life. That coverage does remain the same, but when he reaches the age of 65, there is no change whatsoever in the coverage. It does remain the same. And this good lady wanted to know, does Medicare cover eye examinations? Well, when you go for an eye examination for that chart with the big E on the top and then all those other letters, no, it doesn't cover that. But if you go for an examination in connection with surgery or cataracts or something of that nature that is going to involve surgery, yes, Medicare can and will cover that. But the clock on the wall says it won't cover me any longer. I've got to go for a few moments, so please excuse me, and I'll be right back.
If you have questions or need assistance from the Social Security Office and are a resident of the Eastern Shore, please write to the Social Security Administration, 368 Commercial Park Drive, Fairhope, Alabama, 36532, or call 334-928-2504. If you have questions or need assistance from the Social Security Office and are a resident of Andalusia, Alabama, please write to the Social Security Administration, 408 South 3 Notch, Andalusia, Alabama, 36420, or call 334-222-9701.
Back again with your kindness. Thank you very much for letting me come back. this good gentleman had quite a shock, he says. He said, I reached the age of 65, and I kept right on working because I understand now that I can work as much as I want to at 65 and still draw my retirement benefits. Well, you could imagine my surprise when I saw that they were taking the Social Security tax out of my money. I'm drawing the retirement. When I reach the point when I draw the retirement, do they still have to take the Social Security tax out of anything that I earn? Well, I'm afraid he had a very unusual idea about it. But as far as internal revenue is concerned, the Social Security, so-called Social Security tax, is going to be taken out of anything that he earns all the rest of his life. 7.65%, you know, is for the coming year as well as this current year. And it will be all along 7.65%, and then 1.45% on everything you make. I see, I think it's 80,200, something like that, for the 7.65%, and then everything over that will be subject to the 1.45% hospital tax. But whether or not you're drawing the retirement benefits, you still have to pay the Social Security tax because Internal Revenue would take a very dim view if you didn't do that. And let's see, oh yes, this good gentleman wanted to know about this. He said, my wife had worked only a very little under Social Security way back in the days before we were married. But she died just recently, and someone said, well, now, you ought to look into that to see if the children would be able to draw any benefits. Is it really worthwhile to look into it when she did such little work? Well, it's always worthwhile, yes. I would certainly say check with the Social Security office. They've got it right there in the computers. They can pull it up and see what her Social Security rate would be, her benefit rate would be. If she qualified for one, they can see what her earnings figures are, and if there are enough quarters of coverage there to qualify, then by all means he could file the claim for benefits to be paid to the children. But I would say always resolve any doubt by checking with the Social Security office to see whether or not any benefits would be payable. And that leads into another question that was, well, it's a little unusual, but this gentleman said, when I went into the Social Security office, it told me that I lack 4 quarters of coverage, whatever that means. But he said, could I pay that up and then start drawing the retirement benefits? I says, no, you don't buy the quarters of coverage, you have to earn them. But it's very easy to earn those quarters of coverage now, so if you do a little more work, just a little bit longer, he would be able to have those quarters of coverage, I'm quite sure, and then he wouldn't have to worry about having to pay up. Now, this good lady was worried about something that's a little bit unusual. She said, someone was telling me that they have the Social Security number coded so that they can check many things about you from that Social Security number. Is that correct? The answer is no. At the time that those Social Security numbers were figured out way back in 1936, 35 and 36, they weren't even thinking of anything like that. And there's no way in the world that those Social Security numbers could be coded, because you go in to get a Social Security number, you're in line, you're going to get one number, the one behind you is going to get another one, the one behind him is going to get another one. There's no way that those numbers could be coded to hit you and him. So please, don't let that worry you whatsoever. No way in the world that that Social Security number could be coded to tell things about you. But here's a little statistic that I found the other day that I found quite interesting and really a little bit frightening. It was saying that if you're a younger person, the chances are 1 out of 3 that you can become disabled before the age of 65 if you're a man, and 1 out of 4 if you're a woman. So 1 out of 3 chances of becoming disabled if you're a man, become disabled before 65, and 1 out of 4 of becoming disabled if you're a woman before reaching the age of 65. So it's something that you have to think about, doesn't it? And that's why I always say that so often when they're talking about Social Security and being a bum deal, they're thinking about only retirement, and they forget all about the death benefits and the disability benefits. But the clock on the wall says you're not just you're disabled to go along any longer. You have to leave for a few moments, so please excuse me, and I will be right back.
If you have questions or need assistance from the Social Security Office and are a resident of the Pensacola area, please write to the Social Security Administration, Pensacola District Office, 1011 West Garden Street, Pensacola, Florida, 32501, or call 850-434-5488. If you have questions or need assistance from the Social Security Office and are a resident of the Pascagoula, Mississippi area, please write to the Social Security Administration, 1225 Jackson Avenue, Pascagoula, Mississippi, 39567, or call 228-762-3370.
Back for the last roundup. Thank you for letting me come back. This gentleman was saying, ever so often I hear or read ads about $255 from Social Security. It's certainly not going to be enough to take care of funeral expenses. Well, $255 was never intended to take care of funeral expenses. It's just a lump sum death benefit. Now, why Congress passed that law, I have no idea. They never said it's a funeral benefit. They never said you have to use it for anything in connection with a funeral. You can use it for anything, but it is just a little bonus payment there. Maybe they felt that you would need some extra money when the death occurred in the family. So the one who has been working under Social Security, there could be a $255 lump sum death benefit payable. But it can be payable only to the one who would be in line for monthly benefits, such as a widow or a young or disabled child, not just anybody coming in to file a claim for that lump sum death benefit. Death benefit, you notice I say not funeral benefit. And this good lady was saying, when it's time for me to file a claim for my retirement benefit, both my husband and I have been working. Do I get a choice whether I file on my own record or on my husband's record? And their answer is very definitely yes. She can always file for whatever is most to her advantage. File on her own record, or file on the husband's record, or file on one first and then switch over to the other later on if that would be of any help. But always you have the choice. And the Social Security office will be glad to go into that with you and show whether or not you would be in the better position if you file on this claim or on that one. But I see the clock on the wall is slowly beginning to wind that clock and figure around, that hand around to point toward the door. I want to tell you how much I deeply appreciate you letting me come in every Sunday morning to visit with you. And I hope that these visits are some little help to you. And until next week at the same time, may I say from the heart, and I mean it every time, God bless you all, every last one of you, and goodbye.
This has been your Social Security Report, a public affairs presentation of WALA Fox 10. This program has been pre-recorded broadcast at this time. If you have questions or need assistance from the Social Security Office, please call 1-800-772-1213.